Please be seated. Okay, do we have another witness for the state?
We do, Your Honor. This time the state calls Trysten Mullis.
Trysten, this is Judge Bitter. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're going to be called as a witness to testify, so you have to promise to tell the truth and take an oath. Do you understand what that means?
Yes, Your Honor.
I want you to raise your right hand right now. Do you swear that the testimony you give here today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
State your name and spell your first name, please.
My first name is Trysten. My last name is Mullis. My first name is spelled Trysten. My last name is Mullis, and it's spelled Mullis.
Okay. Counsel, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Trysten, what is your date of birth?
September 3rd, 2005,
And where do you currently live?
in Ankeny.
Who do you live in Ankeny with?
My grandmother and my step-grandfather.
Trysten, what grade are you in?
8th grade.
And do you like sports?
Yes.
What kind of sports do you like?
I like to play football.
And do you have a favorite football team?
Yeah, the Iowa Hawkeyes.
What else do you like to do in your free time?
I like to hunt. I like to fish. I like to go on a four-wheeler ride. I like to hang out with friends.
Trysten, what is your mom's name?
Amy.
And what's her last name?
Mullis.
And what kind of things did your mom like to do?
She liked to do puzzles. She liked to help out with the Delaware County pork producers. She liked to help people out.
Prior to living in Ankeny with your grandparents, where did you live?
In Earlville, or outside of Earlville.
And what was your address?
I don't know.
And did you live on a farm?
Yes.
Who did you live there with?
My mom and dad.
And what's your dad's name?
Todd.
And do you have any siblings?
Yes.
What are your siblings' names?
Taylor and Wyatt.
How old are Taylor and Wyatt?
Taylor is 11 and Wyatt is 9.
When you were living on the farm, is there anything that specifically you were in charge of or you liked to do?
I had chickens that I took care of.
And how did you take care of those chickens?
I fed them, watered them. I picked up the eggs when it needed to be picked up.
Did you actually sell the eggs to the customers?
Yes.
And how much did you sell them for?
$1.50 per dozen of eggs.
Were you able to keep that money?
Yes.
Now, what kinds of things did you do with your mother?
She took me shopping a lot, like for school clothes. We went to some Iowa Hawkeye football games. Just stuff like that.
When you lived on the farm, who worked on the farm?
We all did.
And when you say we all did, who do you mean?
Both my parents, me, and my brother and sister.
And what kind of things did your mom do around the farm?
She kept the paperwork for the chemicals. She ordered feed for the hogs that we have. She just do a lot of paperwork.
And what kind of things would your dad do on the farm?
He'd do the labor work, like the chores and the field work.
Did doing all the farm work take up a lot of your dad's time?
Yeah.
And did you help a lot on the farm?
Yes.
Sometimes did you actually take time off school to help on the farm?
Yes.
And back in 2018, what was your relationship like with your dad?
Close.
What kind of things would you do with your dad?
Chores. We would go hunting, fishing, go on a four-wheeler ride. We'd farm together, obviously. Just stuff like that.
Did you and your dad talk about how someday the farm would be yours?
Yes.
Did you and your dad also talk about you possibly being homeschooled so you could help even more on the farm?
Yes.
Now, Trysten, I'd like to direct your attention to November 10th, 2018. Do you remember that day?
Yes.
Where were you at that morning?
In the house.
And what's the first thing you remember that day?
Just waking up.
And where did you go after you woke up?
To my room to get my clothes on.
And then where'd you go?
Went upstairs.
Did you at some point leave the house?
Yes.
Who did you leave with?
My dad.
And when you left the house, who was at home?
My mom and my brother and my sister.
Where did you go that morning?
To the other hog site where we had hogs that needed to be taken care of.
Trysten, tell me a little bit of the farm that you lived on.
We have a house. We got a few grain bins that stored either corn or soybeans. We have a shop, basically where we do all the maintenance on the equipment and the vehicles. We have actually a storage shed for those vehicles. We have 2 hog buildings, and that's pretty much it.
Ms. Hughes, can you grab the microphone from Mr. Firehelm and set it up by you so everybody can make sure they hear you?
Trysten, would it be fair to say that you had 2 hog barns on the farm?
Yeah, at my house, yes.
And you had indicated a minute ago that that morning you left at some point to go to a separate site?
Yes.
Would that be off of your farm?
Yes.
And whose farm did you go to?
It was not really on a farm. It was kind of in the middle of a cornfield along the highway, but it was next to my Uncle Mike's place.
And who did you go with that morning?
My dad.
When you left that morning, who was left at home on the farm?
My mom, my brother, my sister.
Did you and your dad come back to your house or to your farm?
Yes.
And where did you go then?
We went back to the house.
And was it still your mom, Taylor, and Wyatt inside the house?
Yes.
What did you do then?
We ate breakfast.
Who made you breakfast?
My mom.
What was your mom doing when you first walked in before she made you breakfast?
She did not make breakfast. Like when we walked in, she had already made it. She'd prepared it for us. But when we walked in, she was working on a puzzle.
And who was she working on that puzzle with?
She was alone. She was by herself.
What did you do then after you went inside?
We ate breakfast, talked about how the day was going to lay out, and just, I don't know.
Back in November 2018, was there anybody besides you, your mom, your dad, and your brother and sister that worked on your farm specifically?
Yes.
Who else?
My uncle, Mike, my grandpa Leroy, and that's probably about it.
So it was just family?
Yes.
Was there any hired workers that worked on your farm at that time?
No.
After you ate breakfast, what did you do?
We put our plates in the sink, and we went outside.
Who did you go outside with?
My dad.
And where did you go when you went outside?
To the hog building.
Did your mom at some point come outside?
Yes.
And do you know what time you went outside?
I can't remember, but I think it was 9:30.
How long after did your mom come outside?
About 2-3 minutes.
Do you remember what your mom was wearing that day?
She was wearing a shirt, sweatshirt, a winter coat, and a pair of pants.
No, you said that you and your dad went to the hog barn?
Yes.
Where did your mom go?
To the same one.
When you went to the hog barn, what were you doing?
We were preparing the barn for infant pigs.
So at that point, were there pigs in the barn?
No.
So what were you doing inside the hog barn?
I was carrying heaters. Since it's in the wintertime, it gets cold and they can get sick and die. So we have to carry heaters that heat the pigs so they can stay warm.
What was your dad doing inside the hog barn?
He was putting down these bars that imitates a sow, so that the pigs don't. They get basically it weans them.
Now, this hog barn that you were in, can you just describe it to us a little bit? What does it look like?
It's kind of an open barn. It's got a roof on it, but it's about a football field long. It's got 24 pins in a barn, 12 on each side. There's a small alleyway that you can walk through to get to one end of the barn to the other. It's pretty much, there's feeders in each of the pins that has a water system connected to it.
What was your mom doing after she came out to the hog barn?
She was cleaning light bulb fixtures.
And how was she doing that?
So she would get on a bucket, a 5-gallon bucket, and then she would reach up to these the light bulbs in the ceiling, and there'd be this little glass oval that would go around the light bulb, and it would basically protect the light bulb from being broken and glass discarded on the ground. So sometimes there'd be flies that get in the light fixtures, so she would clean those out.
So would it be fair to say that all three of you were doing different things in the barn?
Yes.
Where were Taylor and Wyatt while the three of you were working in the hog barn?
In the house.
And was anybody else on the farm?
No.
What happened then?
My mom, she kind of, she said she was getting dizzy, and she said that she was bleeding because she had a surgery a few days prior to that day. And so, we just, she just said that she was dizzy and bleeding. So, and then she kind of she said she was getting really dizzy, so we asked her what was wrong, and she said it was nothing.
Now, Trysten, did you see your mom get dizzy, or did she tell you she got dizzy?
I saw her get dizzy.
What did you see her do?
She kind of had to, when she got in a bucket, she had to hold herself from falling off, and she got down and her legs, she was kind of shaky.
What happened then?
Me and my dad both asked her if she was all right.
Did your dad say anything else to your mom at that time?
No, not at that time.
What did you do then?
We continued working.
What happened after you were working?
She kind of did the same thing, but this time we told her that maybe it was better off if she didn't do that job anymore.
Trysten, did you say that to your mom, or did your dad say that to your mom?
We both did.
Did your dad say anything else to your mom?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said, I really don't think it's wise for you to stay out here because, I don't want you falling off and getting hurt.
Did your dad ask your mom to do anything else?
Yes.
What did he ask her to do?
So that later that day, after we had gotten done with the hog barn, there was we had to go, I think it was feed or water water the chickens. And we have it's a tote, it's a chemical tote that was not being used, and we put a hose on it so we could store water in that tote, and so we used that for water, a water source to carry water to the chickens. And it was in the shop, and there was cats in the shop, and the skid loader was also in the shop, so we didn't want them running away or possibly getting in an accident.
So, Trysten, did your dad say anything to your mom or tell her to do something?
Yes.
What did he say?
He said if you want to help out, it would mean a lot to us if you would go get the pet cage that was in a barn.
And is that also referred to as like a pet carrier?
Yes.
And do you know where that pet carrier was located?
Yes.
Where was it located?
In the red shed, as we call it.
And how far is the red shed from the hog barn that you were in?
From the front of the barn, it's about 30 yards.
Did your mom actually leave the hog barn?
Yes.
And this carrier, it's kind of big, correct?
Yes.
And what would you approximate? Well, could you give us an approximation of how much you think that pet carrier weighs?
Probably maybe 15 to 18 pounds. I'm not sure.
And your dad asked your mom to get that after she appeared to be dizzy.
Yes.
Did your dad tell your mom where to put it after she got it?
Yes.
Where did he tell her to put it?
He said They said two things. He said, if you can get it to the shop, that would help. But if you can't get it, if you can get it out of the barn, that would be also helpful. But if you just can't get it, then just leave it. We'll get it.
Now, where specifically in the red shed was that pet carrier located?
It was kind of against the wall. I want to say it was against the southern wall, something like that.
So you actually saw your mom then leave the hog barn?
Yes.
What were you doing after your mom left the hog barn?
I continued her job.
And what was that?
Cleaning the light fixtures.
And what was your dad doing?
He was doing the same thing that he was doing just when we, before she left.
How long were you and your dad in the hog barn together after your mom left?
Probably about another hour and 30 minutes.
Now, while you were in this barn, you were still working?
Yes.
And your dad was doing his job or working as well?
Yes.
At some point, did you lose sight of your dad?
Yes.
Do you know exactly how long your dad wasn't in your sight?
No.
The time that you didn't see your dad you obviously didn't see your mother either.
Yes.
You did not see your mom at that time? Sorry,
Yes.
that was confusing.
Yes.
While you were in the hog barn working for approximately that hour and a half, did you have a watch on?
No.
Did you have your phone with you?
No.
Was there a clock inside the hog barn that you were looking at the time?
No.
Trysten, would it be accurate to say that you don't know how much time you were away from your dad when you were working in the hog barn?
Yes.
Now, Trysten, you swore to tell the truth today, correct?
Yes.
And as Judge Bitter asked you, you know what that means,
Yes.
and you're under oath right now.
Yes.
Now, did you also swear to tell the truth last week when you did a deposition to talk about these same things?
Yes.
And during that deposition, were you asked how long your dad was out of your sight?
Yes.
And during that deposition, you were also under oath.
Yes.
And during that deposition, you estimated that it was approximately, and
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
may I proceed, Judge?
Go ahead.
Trysten, during that deposition, you estimated that you were out of your dad's sight for approximately 1 minute and 40 seconds.
Yes.
Was that accurate when you gave that testimony?
No.
After the deposition, did you meet with your attorney and did your dad say or tell you to do anything?
Yes.
What did he say to you?
He just said, maybe it was too heavy or she couldn't get it or because she was on a weight restriction. So we just thought that, maybe it was just, one of those things where you just can't do it yourself. So he just told me to get it myself.
Now, let me just ask you a few questions, Trysten, about what you just said. You said your mom was on a weight restriction?
Yes.
And what do you mean by that?
It means since she had the surgery, as I earlier said, that she couldn't, she wasn't recommended to lift over 10 pounds, is what she told me.
Now, after you were working in the barn for approximately an hour and a half, did you and your dad had that conversation about how you didn't see the pet carrier by the shop?
Yes.
Where did that conversation with you and your dad take place?
There's an office, it's like an office in the barn that we were working in, and it's where, all the paperwork for the both barns go for, the pigs, the days, and stuff like that, and just a storage area.
Now, did your dad ask you to go and check the red shed?
Yeah.
And did he ask you to go look for your mom or to go look for the pet carrier?
Go look for the pet carrier.
Where did you go then?
I went to the barn.
And when you say barn, that's also the red shed?
Yes,
So
yes,
sometimes you guys call it the old red barn or the old shed.
yes.
Where was your dad when you went into the shed?
He was changing his boots that he had put on because they say it's wise to change boots so you don't spread disease throughout the barns. So we were both wearing different boots, and he had to fill out some paperwork.
Did you then walk to the red shed or red barn?
Yes.
At that point, was anybody else on the farm?
No.
Where did you go then?
I went to the barn.
What did you see when you walked in?
My mom.
And where was your mom at?
She was just inside the door.
And what position was she in?
She was kind of on her hands and knees, face down.
What did you do?
I yelled for my dad.
Did you see anything that was protruding or sticking out of your mom's body?
Yes.
What did you see?
A corn rake.
And where was that at in relation to your mom's body?
In her center back, probably, somewhere around there.
At that point, was your mom responsive?
No.
Did you do anything to see if she was?
Yes.
What did you do?
I checked for a pulse on her neck and her arm, and I put my finger, or my index and my middle finger under her nose to see if she was, if there was breath.
Now, at that point, I think you indicated that's when you called for your dad.
Yes.
What happened then?
He started running.
At that point, did you or your dad call 911?
Yes.
Right then you did?
No, not then, no.
When you say you went and got the truck, what do you mean, what did you actually do?
Went and got in the truck and drove it over to where they were.
And what was your dad doing then?
He was helping Mom out of the barn.
And how was he doing that?
He was kind of had a hand over both of his shoulders, kind of like the Army carry.
And so, did you actually see your dad? What did you do then after you pulled the truck up?
I got out of it, and I saw her, and I got really, I kind of got lightheaded, and then my dad just told me to snap out of it, and I got the door open for him, and I sat in the passenger seat, and she sat on my lap, and we drove off to the house. The truck, yes.
I'm sorry, the truck. And you were in the front passenger seat?
Yes.
And at that point, where was your mom?
She was on top of me.
And would it be fair to say, was your mom bleeding?
Yes.
And your dad started driving?
Yes.
While your mom was on top of you and your dad was driving, at any point did you see your mom become responsive?
No.
When your dad started driving, shortly after he started driving, did he do anything?
He called 911.
What happened then?
The operator told him to pull over so we pulled over it was like an area where a house is being built and nobody was there, so we just pulled over.
What happened after you guys pulled over?
We got her out of the car, and the operator, or the truck, I'm sorry, and the operator told us to give CPR.
And did your dad do that?
Yes.
Did police and an ambulance arrive?
Yes.
And what happened after they arrived?
They started doing chest compressions, and they loaded her into the ambulance and drove her off to the hospital.
Did anybody else other than the police and paramedics arrive where you guys were at on the side of the road?
Yes.
Who else came or showed up?
It was by sheer coincidence, but a few friends did.
Where did you go then after your mom got put in the ambulance?
We went back to my house.
When you say we, who were you with?
One of our friends.
And do you recall his name?
Yes.
What was his name?
Michael Krogman.
And is Michael Krogman a neighbor or a friend?
Yes.
And he actually drove you back to your house?
Yes.
Was it just the two of you in the car?
Yeah, the truck, yes.
Sorry, the truck. When you got back, you drove in the truck with Mike Krogman, did anybody else follow you back to your farm?
I don't remember.
At some point, did some police officers arrive?
Yes.
And did you speak with those officers?
Yes.
Did you show them the area where you found your mom?
Yes.
Now, this area where you found your mom, can you just describe it a little bit more, please?
There's a door. There's two sliding doors. There's chemical totes in there. There was an old wagon in there. It's kind of narrow,
Now, I apologize. The area where you found your mom, is that the same area where the pet carrier is?
Yeah, basically.
Well, you actually have to, where you found your mom is right, if I have this right when you walk in the doors, to your left is where your mom was.
Yes.
And your mom, you indicated, was on her hands and knees face down.
Yes.
And you would actually have to walk a little bit further and turn in order to see where the pet carrier is.
Yes.
Did you then talk with the police and indicate to them where you found your mom?
Yes.
Now, Trysten, after this happened, that day, you went to the hospital.
Yes.
And would it be fair to say that this was a very traumatic experience for you?
Yes.
You indicated earlier that you actually felt like you almost were going to pass out when you found your mom.
Yes.
And obviously, what were you feeling after you found your mom?
I just kind of freaked out, and I was, my anxiety level was 0 to 100 in about a split second.
Now, you spoke to police, sheriff, that day at the hospital, right?
Yes.
And they asked you a little bit about what happened that day.
Yes.
And you told them at that time that you were with your dad the whole time.
Yes.
You also talked to Scott Rieger from the Department of Criminal Investigations. He came to your school a few days later and talked to you.
Yes.
And he also asked you if you were with your dad the whole time.
Yes.
And you said yes.
Yes.
And lastly, you also talked to a forensic interviewer at the Child Protection Services a couple months after this happened. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you also told that interviewer that you were with your dad the whole time.
Yes.
But what you're telling us today and what you told us at the deposition is that there was a period of time that you were not with your dad.
Yes.
Now, after this happened on November 10th, 2018, where were you living?
With my dad and my two siblings.
And were you living at home on your farm, or did you stay somewhere else for a little bit?
We stayed somewhere else for a little bit.
And who did you stay with?
My dad's parents.
And would that be your grandma and grandpa Mullis?
Yes.
And where do they live in relation to your farm?
About maybe a couple miles away.
Now, Trysten, I just want to go back a little bit and ask you a few more questions about the day that this happened. When you first found your mom, were you able to see your mom's face or her front side when you first found her?
Oh.
And in the area that your mom was found, what's in that specific area?
It's just like a walkway, and there's like chemical totes in there and a wagon that carries fertilizer.
Now, at any point on the day that this happened on November 10th, 2018, did you ever see anybody other than your mom, your dad, and your brothers and sisters on the farm?
Yes.
Who else? I'm sorry, before this happened.
Oh, no.
You indicated a minute ago that at some point you saw other people.
When?
Did you I'll just rephrase my question. I apologize. When you and your mom and your dad were out in the barn, at any point, did you see anybody else on the farm?
Oh, no.
Did you hear anybody else on the farm?
No.
After your mom went to get the pet carrier, did you hear anybody else on the farm?
No.
Did you see any trucks or hear anybody else on the farm?
No.
And after you went home, after this happened, at that point there was some police and some other family members that came over.
Yeah.
What time do you think you worked outside until you found your mom? About what time?
Noon.
Now, Trysten, I want to ask you a little bit about when you were, prior to this happening, you would, did you have your own bedroom at the farm?
Yes.
Would you sleep in your bedroom?
No.
Why not?
Just because, it's downstairs, and it's kind of I'm the only room downstairs, and it just was kind of lonely. I guess I just slept upstairs
And where would you sleep at your house?
in the living room.
Would you sleep on a couch?
Yes.
And would your dad generally also sleep in that same room?
Yes.
And would that be on a separate couch?
Yes.
And do you know why your dad slept on that couch?
Because he had back problems, I know, and there was a certain inclination that he would sleep in, and it would it wouldn't hurt his back, and so he just kind of slept on that.
Now, did your dad have an iPad?
Yes.
And where would your dad keep that iPad?
There was a little kind of a rectangular box kind of thing. It was like a gift that he had gotten, I think, and he would keep it in that beside the couch.
Now, let me back up a minute. Did you have any type of device at this time, back in November 2018 or around that time? Did you have a phone or an iPad?
Yes.
What did you have?
I had a phone, and I had a Kindle, or whatever you want to call it.
And did Taylor or Wyatt have any type of devices?
Yes.
What did they have?
Taylor had a cell phone as well, and they both had a Kindle.
And what, if anything, did your mom have, type of device?
She had a cell phone. She had a Kindle as well.
And was there a family laptop or computer that you all used?
Yes.
And where was that device or that? Was it a laptop?
Yeah.
Where was that usually kept?
It was generally kept kind of next to a door that led up to the deck, but it was kind of in the kitchen vicinity.
And it generally stayed in the kitchen area?
Yes.
Now, this iPad that was your dad's, field or in the tractor or to use it around the farm?
Yes.
And was there a code to get into this iPad?
Yes.
Are you aware of what that password was?
Yes.
Did you yourself ever use that iPad?
Yes.
When did you use that iPad?
Maybe once, I think, to look up something for Dad, or I think one of those, I can't remember, but I know I did use it a couple times, but it was just to look up stuff.
Now, during your deposition last week, you were asked if you ever used that iPad, correct?
Yes.
And during that deposition, you said you never used it?
Yes.
But today you're saying that you have used it?
Yes.
And do you recall when that was?
No.
Do you know what year it was?
2018.
Did you ever see your mom use that iPad?
No.
Did you ever see Taylor use that iPad?
No.
Did you ever see Wyatt use that iPad?
No.
Now, Trysten, did you know kind of a lot about your mom and dad's relationship?
Yeah.
Were you aware?
Mom say that, yes, I had an affair.
And then several years later, a couple months before your mother's death, did you ever, well, let me say, in about the summer to fall of 2018, before your mother's death, do you remember a time when you came home from school and your mom was really upset?
Yes.
Do you remember specifically when that was?
I can give you an estimate. It was probably August, late August.
You remember you were in school.
Yes.
And when you came home, what did you observe about your mother?
She was just kind of upset, and she just, I don't know, she was just upset.
And did she do anything with you? Did she hug you or kiss you?
Yeah.
And then that same day, did you go outside?
Yes.
And did you then have a conversation with your dad?
Yes.
Was it anybody besides you and your dad that day?
No.
And what, if anything, did your dad say to you during that conversation?
He just said that, Mom was upset today, and we got in an argument, and it was just about what was going on, and she just kind of got upset about it.
Well, when you say what was going on, your dad actually told you that your mom was talking to another man
Yes.
during that conversation.
Yes.
And Trysten, was there another time that you were also with your dad around this same time where he was talking to you about his relationship with your mother?
Yes.
And what were you and your dad doing at that time?
I don't remember.
Do you remember saying in your deposition that you were burning something, or that your dad might have been
yes.
burning something?
Yes, yes.
Do you know what your dad was burning?
It's just trash.
And what did your dad say to you during that conversation?
He just said that, have you noticed anything with Mom? Is she getting grumpy, or is she upset with you guys? Is she, is she, like, texting a lot?
So you talked about your mom and dad's relationship.
Yes.
Now, after this happened on November 10th, 2018, after you learned about your mom's passing, did you
Yes.
ever go out to the red shed yourself?
Yes.
And for what purpose did you go out there?
I just wanted to see what happened.
And how many times would you say you went out there?
2-3 times.
Now, Trysten, you said earlier that you're staying currently with your grandma and grandpa in Ankeny,
Yes.
and that's your mom's mother and
Stepdad.
stepdad, right?
Yes.
Have you ever talked to them about the facts from this day?
No.
And did they tell you, or did anybody else in your mom's family tell you what to say today?
No.
And in fact, after you hired an attorney, your attorney told you not to talk to anybody about this other than when you're testifying.
Yes.
Trysten, at any point on November 10th, 2018, prior to you finding your mother, did you see Taylor and Wyatt outside?
No.
So you saw nobody else outside but you, your mom, and your dad.
Yes.
And Trysten, did you do anything to hurt your mom that day?
No.
You were never with your mom in the red shed until you actually found her.
Yes.
I have nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Firehelm, go ahead.
Your Honor, I know it's only 11:35, but with some of the changes we've heard about during this testimony and the fact that we're split up from Mr. Sabers, I think I could do it much more efficient time-wise if I had a chance to review notes and talk to him and get these exhibits lined up.
You want to take a lunch break now?
I think it would be less confusing and more productive if we did that.
Okay, we can do that. Typically, we break for lunch around noon. It's 25 minutes to 12. So, folks, we'll take our lunch break at this point in time. Remember the admonition I've given you before. Same rules apply. Keep an open mind and don't draw any conclusions. We'll take until about 12:45. We'll give you about an hour and 10 minutes for lunch. Report back to the jury room. Okay?